Have you seen Star Wars?
One interesting concept we may have to look forward to in the future of the Star Wars franchise is that we may be done with doing normal trilogies. So far, that's what we're used to in this fandom. From 1977 to 1983, we got our first Star Wars trilogy, and we knew that eventually we would get the prequel trilogy, and from 1999 to 2005, that's when we got the other three films. Then from 2015 to 2019, the sequel trilogy released, which also felt kind of normal. Our Star Wars stories came in threes for every generation, and 3 films being a trilogy. But now that we're done with the Skywalker saga, a new era of Star Wars films are about to begin, and there's no real announced plan other than the release date. Right now, we are getting 3 Star Wars films in this current decade of the 2020s, and each film comes out in December of 2023, 2025, and 2027. A Star Wars film will release every year in December. Now, you might say to yourself, well, wait a minute, 3 release dates mean 3 Star Wars films, so that's our new trilogy, right? Well, not so fast. Remember, all signs point to the next Star Wars film being directed and co-written by Taika Waititi from The Mandalorian, which means his film will likely release in 2023. What's curious, though, is that Lucasfilm has not said this would be the first episode of a brand new trilogy, and I think there'd be more interest and speculation on that film if it was episode 1 out of a new trilogy. But if we turn our attention to Rian Johnson, the controversial director in the Star Wars fandom, he still officially has his own Star Wars trilogy. And when I say official, I mean that comes from Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, and official statements from the company. None of the conspiracy theory stuff on YouTube that says it's been canceled, only stuff that actually comes from credible news outlets or just the news itself, the source itself. Lucasfilm, if Rian Johnson's trilogy does happen, then we possibly have to add another movie date for the Star Wars timeline, possibly in 2029, 2 years after the 2027 film. Meaning, if Lucasfilm does make the Rian Johnson trilogy with the release dates that we have now, Episode 1 would have to come out in 2025, 2 years after Taika's Star Wars film. So then the question is, will the Taika film be a spin-off movie about a certain character? Is it just a random story set in a different part of the Star Wars timeline in an unfamiliar part of the galaxy? Maybe his film is the first part of the Rian Johnson trilogy. But I don't believe that to be the case, because in the official announcement, they said that Rian would write and direct the first episode of his trilogy, so it's clear that the 2023 film isn't part of the Johnson trilogy. Well then maybe, just maybe, all of the 3 scheduled release dates for Star Wars movies in the future are not tied in together at all. Star Wars may be done with the traditional trilogy format, and is that a good idea? When you make a trilogy, it's presumed that you have it planned out, and you know the beginning, middle, and end of the story that's being told. But if the sequel trilogy is any proof, then you can tell plans change and things go wrong. You can lose writers, directors, or change the story along the way if you choose to. So maybe Lucasfilm is trying to avoid those problems now by having 3 films that could loosely reference each other, or maybe have some general overarching story, but not directly be tied to each other in the traditional trilogy format. Maybe planning out 3 films years ahead before the release isn't a great way to tell the story in the Star Wars universe anymore. I mean, even with the prequels, Lucas had to cut some things due to the limited story that he could tell, but also had to rush to tie in things connected with the original trilogy. My point is, the trilogy format may be limiting and cause more problems than solutions for the Star Wars storytellers. Maybe we should step away from the trilogies just because that's what we Star Wars fans are used to. I mean, a lot of fans want a trilogy set during the Old Republic era, but my question is, hey, why limit it? What if there's a really cool script for the Old Republic, but it could not fit 3 films? Maybe it could only fit 2. Would you really want to milk that story like they milked the Hobbit films and the 3 films when it clearly only needed to be 1 or 2 films? Maybe the next Old Republic story could be a series with 5 films in total. That'd be kinda cool. My point here is, we have a lot of options for storytelling in the Star Wars universe. Why limit ourselves to just doing 3 films for a story? Maybe we only need 1 or 2, maybe we need 4 or 5, but we don't always need a trilogy. Now, to be honest, I don't think Lucasfilm was done with the trilogy format. Prior to 2019, the plan was to have 6 more Star Wars films. So 2 trilogies, one made by Rian Johnson, and the other one made by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the guys who created the Game of Thrones show and ran the story into the ground after Season 5. So Lucasfilm clearly has plans for more trilogies. They canceled the one from the Game of Thrones creators due to likely realizing these guys had no idea what the hell they were doing, but until they officially canceled the Rian Johnson trilogy, we're still getting a trilogy set in the Star Wars universe, directed or written by Rian Johnson. If I were a betting man, I would bet that the Rian Johnson trilogy starts in 2025 and ends in 2029, but it could be really fun to see the 2023 film by Taika play out. Could it spawn a new trilogy separate from the Rian Johnson trilogy, or is it just a single standalone story that we never would have expected? Only time will tell. But tell me your thoughts below. Should we get rid of the Star Wars trilogy format, or should we stick to the 3-film story structure for tradition's sake? Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe because it does help out the channel. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.